Hi, this is Nicolai Glazer with Pacific Sotheby's International Realty here in coastal Orange County. Today we're going to go over a little bit of a case study and share some history on some properties that we've sold before. So we're going to talk about 2563 Orange Avenue. This is a standalone townhome in Eastside Costa Mesa. So this particular property has been owned by a repeat client, and I've even been involved with this property from a perspective of helping with leasing and property management for about the last 8 years. So this property was kind of interesting because the owners of the property contacted me. They wanted to do a 1031 exchange with this property and purchase a vacation home. Obviously, we can't put the cart before the horse. This property is still tenant occupied. We needed to facilitate the sale, execute what's called a reverse 1031 exchange for this property. Most people have heard of a 1031 exchange, but with a reverse 1031 exchange, what you're doing is actually buying the replacement property first and then turning around and selling the property that you need to sell to use the funds to pay for that replacement property second. Couple extra steps in the process and different nuances, but nonetheless we were able to perform a reverse 1031 exchange, find them a beautiful replacement property down in Mission Beach, down in San Diego, my old stomping grounds when I was down at San Diego State, and then take the steps necessary for the property in Costa Mesa to get that one ready for market and ultimately sold. So there's been a tenant living in this property for the last 4 years and a couple of dogs, mind you. So obviously to understand, hey, where's our return on investment and what type of upgrades or improvements or fresh ups do we want to put into a property to get it ready for market. Based on today's market conditions, I thought there was an opportunity for them to make a little bit of an investment. This included painting inside and out, doing a series of inspections, having some repairs completed, servicing the HVAC system, that's heating and air, and just really getting the property to the best presentable version of itself. Ultimately, they spent about $25,000, which was a huge investment into this property, but in my estimation, it ended up returning about $75,000 for them. So it worked out to be a win-win. So this property, it ended up having a great story because we were very thoughtful about all the work that we did. The sellers were extremely receptive about the recommendations that we were making of what we thought should be invested into the property to get it sold for ultimately the highest price at the fastest amount of time. There's high demand right now in the Eastside Costa Mesa area, and timing wise in the market, we're just entering our spring market. So everything was actually lining up really good for us to have strong market feedback and reception once we went to the market. So we did all the improvements to the property, put together a killer marketing package on it, and as soon as we went active, I got a flurry of activity on this one, and we actually had one offer come in literally within the first 12 hours of being on market for about $30,000 over asking. So this was a little bit of a flashback to 2021 when the market was on fire and we're getting multiple offers in the first couple days. We got great market reception. We got a great offer, and there was no reason why the seller should even wait to get through the first weekend of open houses to accept that offer and move forward with a very excited buyer. So these buyers are the perfect case study for two young professionals, first-time home buyers, a little bit of help from mom and dad to purchase their first home. Super cute watching them walk around the house and talking about how they were going to use it and what was going to go where. So it was really fun to be part of this process and to see this young couple purchasing their first home together and just being starry-eyed about the process. That doesn't happen all the time, but it's really fun when it does. The only critiques that we're going to get on this property and the process that we used to sell this property is that their buyer missed out. So unfortunately, I don't have a dozen of these to sell, but we just set everything up perfectly to set the seller up for success. Yeah, so literally the buyer's agent contacted me within a few hours of the property coming on the market, and they went and saw the property within a few hours of it being on market. They contacted me for more information and had an offer submitted literally within an hour or two after that. So it was an amazing process, and I think that's the difference when you have an agent that's really working for you. When you have an agent that's really working for you and jumping through the hoops and understanding what they need to do to execute on your behalf is really special and important. And that's part of the charm of this transaction, because we have these first-time home buyers and their enthusiasm around this property and their agent doing what they needed to do to make that happen for them. So it becomes a win-win. The agents, the other agent and myself, we become the facilitators on the transaction to work between the buyer and the seller and have a happy ending for everybody. Especially if you get a quality offer and a quality buyer that's motivated for your property, there's no reason why you shouldn't work together to put that deal together and have a win-win for everybody.